But aside from that, we'll also learn that the increase, for instance, of the price of oil is not only because of the increasing demand for oil, but also because of the impact of the flow of oil. So, um, not only does greater demand lead to higher prices, but it becomes harder and harder to find additional resources and increasingly difficult to obtain them. Okay, so meaning to say, hindi lang yung increase ng demand din yung nagre-resulta sa increase ng presyo ng oil. But because of the higher demand of the consumer society, mas humihirap yung what you call this, pag-produce ng commodities na ito. Especially, for example, when it comes to oil. Because for one, oil is not just produced anywhere. Hindi lahat ng countries nakakapag-produce ng oil. Because if that's the case, then mayaman na ang Pilipinas, wala nang utang ang Pilipinas. Okay? So, oil is produced only on selected countries, selected lands, or selected waters, and etc. And only the bigger countries, rich countries, can produce oil because only they have the means, the tools necessary in producing oil. Okay? So, since mahirap siyang hanapin, mahirap siyang i-produce, mas nadadagdagan din yung presyo ng oil na iyon. Okay? So, since it's harder to find, it's harder to produce, it also leads to higher prices, which actually, America, in the case of America, it produces crude oil, but mainly yung OPEC countries, especially yung Middle Eastern countries, sila yung pinaka-rich sa oil for their what do you call this, in the whole of the globe. Okay, so which brings us actually to dito sa tinatawag natin na oil wealth. This is literally wealth, kayamanan, yaman na nanggaling sa oil. Okay, so there was a huge influx of petrodollars into oil-producing countries after 2002 and especially in 2007 and 2008 as a result of the great run-up in oil prices through mid-2008. So, kikita ninyo dito sa illustration, no? Yung oil yung nagpo-produce ng pera for OPEC countries. Okay, so we have the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Now, as of 2007, the Gulf states were earning $5 billion a week. So, imagine, no? Kung yan yung na-earn ng Pilipinas, kung oil exporter tayo, producer, wala na tayong utang, di ba? Okay, so the only problem now with these OPEC countries actually is yung spending of money from this oil. Parang yung problema nila is sobra-sobra yung yaman nila, saan nila gagamitin? Diba? So you imagine, for example, yung mga water tank ninyo, pag naka-on, di ba yung water pump, then mafu-full yung water tank ninyo, yung mga reservoir ninyo, nag-overflow yung tubig, di ba? So parang ganun yung nangyayari dito sa OPEC countries, especially when it comes to their oil wealth. So ang nangyayari, ang ginagawa nila is since they can spend everything, they invest those money sa other countries. So dito papasok yung FDI at saka portfolio investments. And most of these Middle Eastern countries have actually invested in the US. Pero yung what do you call this? Yung US actually is hindi na siya masyadong attracted sa mga investments. So parang nagkakaroon na rin ng takot yung US na mag-overflow yung investments ng Middle East sa bansa nila. Okay? Kaya nga, sometimes I think na when it comes to what's happening between Israel and Gaza, no, if only the Middle Eastern countries or the OPEC countries would pressure the US to stop supporting Israel's genocide in Gaza, siguro they would have a swaying power. Okay? Especially pagdating sa United Nations, ganyan mga votes sa resolutions, ganyan. Pero since nangingibabaw yung economic behaviors nila or yung desire nila to maintain economic relationships, so wala silang ginagawa. Okay? So Ganun yung nangyari. That's why it's hard to corrode your or erode your humanity with money. Kasi, di ba, napapalitan yung pagkatao mo ng pera. Okay, and then moving on, so we have race to the bottom and upgrading. Race to the bottom is actually a very important phenomenon in the global economy. Okay, especially with the global economy that we have today. Okay, so ano nga ba itong race to the bottom? So makikita ninyo dito sa illustration, no? The race is not pataas or pa-straight. The race is, as indicated by this arrow, pababa. Okay, so the race to the bottom is a downward spiral of competitiveness. Diba usually, when we hear the word race, we associate that with competition, for example. And especially competition to be the best, diba? Competition to be at the top. Like for example, when you compete with other people, with mga competition, mga singing competition, writing competition, etc., etc. Yung competition ninyo is kung sino yung pinakamaganda yung boses, pinakamagaling sumayaw. Yung competition ninyo is kung sino yung the best, di ba? Para ikaw yung mag-emerge sa taas. Okay? So, another example is competition sa classroom, for example, nagkukumpete kung sino yung pinakamalaki yung grado, pinakamagandang grado, and etc. etc. Dito sa race to the bottom, no, ang competition is hindi pataas, but rather the competition is pababa. And why is that so? Okay, for less developed countries, remember this is for less developed countries, to compete and succeed in the global economy, especially with the demands of the global economy, they must undercut the competition, meaning to say they must weaken or undermine the competition. So, for example, etong mga tao na to, nagko-compete sila, they would need to think of ways on how to weaken their competitors. Paano mo pahihinain yung kakompetensya mo, for example. So, ang ginagawa nila, they undercut their competition, we're talking about the global economy, in various ways, such as offering lower wages, poorer working conditions, longer hours, ever-escalating pressure and demands, and so on. Why? Because these conditions, yung mga lower wages, these result to cheaper products. This explains why China has surplus with the US and US has deficit with China. Because again, Chinese products are cheaper kapag binibenta nila sa US because ginawa siya sa China and ang ginamit ni China is cheap labor. And that is done in order to undercut China's competition. So yun yung ginagawa niya. A clear example is, for example, etong lalaki na ito si H&M. So, etong mga tao na ito, magkukumpit sila sa kung sinong kukunin ni H&M na supplier ng kanyang clothing, na tagagawa ng clothing niya. So, ang ginagawa ng bawat isa dito, or for example, let's start with number 4, siya yung nauna. So, ang gagawin niya, ilo-lower niya yung cost of production. So, paano natin ilo-lower yung cost of production? Yung ginamit natin sa pag-produce ng clothing na yon. So, ang gagawin natin is pabababain natin yung sweldo ng mga workers natin para mas maliit yung mas-spend natin. Yung working conditions, hindi na natin papakialaman. Like for example, kahit na dilapidated yung factory, hindi natin i-repair yung mga stairs or whatever, ganyan-ganyan. Yung mga workers natin, pagtatrabahuin natin overtime, every day, even without insurance, kahit may sakit sila, magtrabaho kayo, ganyan-ganyan. Pero hindi natin increase yung sweldo nila. Kasi pag increase natin yung sweldo nila, mas mag-increase yung value ng product natin. So in order for us to produce a cheap product, so kailangan yung production natin is cheap rin siya. Okay? And then ever-escalating pressures and demands. So ang ending dyan, ang end product mo is ibibenta mo, for example, kay H&M for a cheaper price. Then, nung narinig or nakita or nalaman ni number 13 na yun yung ginagawa ni number 4, yun din yung gagawin niya. Nung nakita din ni 666 na yun yung ginagawa nila, gagawin din niya yun. So, hanggang nagkakaroon na tayo ng race to the bottom with different countries or different companies, nagpapaunahan pababa. Para pag nanalo sila yung mag-emerge at the top. Sila yung pipiliin ni H&M na supplier ng kanilang clothing. That's what happens with less developed countries. Kasi mahirap, di ba, mahirap yung kalakalan ng sa less developed countries. You really have to think of strategies and different ways kung paano ka makakalamang sa ibang economy. So yun yung nangyayari usually. So some countries enter the global economic market at or near the bottom, but over time begin to move up. This is actually the case with China. Okay, so the early success of Chinese industry was based on their victory in the race to the bottom. They actually undertook the race to the bottom, or underwent the race to the bottom. Okay, this explains why Chinese products were actually very cheap compared to other products produced by other countries. That's why sobrang laki ng surplus nila sa US, sobrang laki ng deficit ni US kay China. Okay, but the Chinese are now moving away from that and to the production of higher value with higher pay and better working conditions for at least some Chinese workers. So remember, no, nung nag-participate sila sa Race to the Bottom, talagang pangit yung environment when it comes to their production. Okay, so low wage, it's the opposite of this one, low wage, low value production. I am very sorry for the noise. I'm sorry. And poor working conditions. Para kasi ito yung strategy na in-employ nila para maibenta nila yung products nila for a cheaper price. And of course, if you are the buying, the buying country, ang mag-attract sa'yo is una, the presyo of the product that you're buying. And if they're cheap, then countries are prone to buy your products. Okay, but then, no, accordingly, China has now moved away from race to the bottom kasi finally kasi, nung nanalo na sila, kasi race so there should be a winner. So kung sinong nauna pababa, sila yung magiging winner. So ngayon, ang winner natin is si China. So ngayon, they have moved away from low-cost production or low-value production to a high-value production. So ito yung tinatawag na natin ngayon na industrial upgrading. So this is a process where nation-states, firms, and even workers move from low value to relatively high value global production network. So the areas that won the race to the bottom are now among the most successful global economies in the world, as evidenced by China. But prior to that, we had the first winner of the race to the bottom. We have England. So makikita kasi natin dito yung pinagkaiba ng undevelopment at saka underdevelopment. Because in the past, walang masyadong kakumpetensya. Okay, so parang pag ikaw yung pinakaunang nanalo, parang ikaw na yung magiging basis for the other winners. Okay, so it was followed by the United States, and then Japan, and then China, Hong Kong, and then eventually China. Okay, so it was due to their Chinese industries and textile industries that China is now moving up industrially and economically. Actually, we have 4 subsequent stages of industrial upgrading. It was 4 sequential stages pala. Sequential because it requires a sequence for industrial upgrading to, finally be achieved. Okay, so first we have assembly, then we have original manufacturer, equipment manufacturer, third we have original brand manufacturer, and lastly we have original design manufacturer. So sa first stage na ito, ito yung ginagawa noon ng, for example, ito yung ginagawa ng China noon and even still today, because there are some industries in China that are still participating or in the midst of the race to the bottom or low value production pa. Okay, so sa assembly, ito yung materials would be coming from other countries and they'd only be assembling, then ibabalik nila sa country na iyon para ibebenta ng said country. Second, we have the original equipment manufacturer. Like, say for example, the equipment for the manufacture of a particular product is ngayon in this stage sa kanila mismo nanggaling sa China mismo. Then third one, we have original brand manufacturer. Okay, so dito na stage na ito naman, the branding of the product would be sa kanila na. Di ba kasi for example, when it comes to iPhones, no, nung first stage is what do you call this? Si China yung taga-assemble lang kasi babalik niya. Sa second stage, it means to say na yung materials na ginamit sa pag-assemble ng gadget na iyon is manggagaling na kay China. Ngayon, sa third stage, yung brand name, for example, ng gadget na yun, ng phone na yun, is original na mismo kay China. So, di ba, we have, for example, Xiaomi, yung mga brand nila, na basta Xiaomi lang yung natatandaan ko. And then lastly is we have original design manufacturers. So, di ba China was known to be a producer of fake products, di ba? Parang kapag ka naririnig natin noong una na this product is made in China, automatic that product is a fake, di ba? Pero ngayon makikita na natin na China are now producing products na original sa kanila talaga, na hindi na kinopya sa other countries or other companies and etc. Although meron pa ring instances wherein may pinoproduce pa rin sila na fake, but the important thing to remember here is they have now undergone these 4 stages. So meaning to say they have now industrially upgraded from low value production to high value production, mga original designs na nila, original manufacturing na nila. Okay? And what do you call this? Okay, so remember race to the bottom, no? So according to Victoria Rivoli, no? Ang sabi niya kasi dito, no? 'Di ba yung sabi natin doon na amongst the economies or countries or areas that want the race to the bottom, they have now become the most successful global economies in the world. Okay? That explains why China is one of the biggest economic giants ngayon ng mundo, because of the race to the bottom. And sabi rin niya dito, no, the race to the bottom is the ignition switch. It serves as the ignition switch that turns the economy on and gets it rolling. Okay? So parang kumbaga sa sasakyan, no, yung race to the bottom is yun yung nagiging accelerator ng sasakyan para mag-start yung sasakyan, para tumakbo yung sasakyan until such time eventually na nag-industrially upgrade na yung mga nag-participate, and especially yung nanalo sa race to the bottom, which is exemplified the best by China. So kaya nga may nakasulat din siya na may conclusion siya dyan. Sabi niya, with the race to the bottom comes the rise of the bottom, di ba? So ang conclusion niya dyan is that the bottom is rising. Because of the race to the bottom has now risen, or the bottom is rising.